The tension inside Red Bull has quietly reached a critical point, and the latest evidence linking Max Verstappen's inner circle to Aston Martin has only intensified the pressure. What initially appeared to be harmless paddock speculation has now evolved into something far more unsettling for the Milton Keynes outfit, as conversations between Aston Martin and Verstappen's longtime race engineer have come to light at a moment when Red Bull can least afford instability. Gianpiero Lambiase is not just another engineer within Red Bull's structure. He has been Verstappen's constant presence since 2016, guiding him through his rise from raw talent to multiple world championships. Over nearly a decade, their relationship has grown into one of the most trusted and finely tuned driver-engineer partnerships in modern Formula One, built on absolute honesty, emotional control, and mutual respect. That is precisely why alarm bells are ringing so loudly now. Lambiase's future at Red Bull has been uncertain since the end of the 2025 season, particularly after he chose to step back from his role as Verstappen's race engineer for personal reasons. His absence from key races, where Simon Rennie stepped in, may have seemed temporary, but it opened the door to deeper questions about Red Bull's internal stability. Behind the scenes, Red Bull are acutely aware that Lambiase's value goes far beyond race strategy and radio calls. He understands Verstappen's mindset better than anyone, knowing exactly when to calm him, when to push him, and when to tell him to listen. That psychological balance is not something that can be replaced overnight, especially not ahead of the biggest regulation change Formula One has ever seen. The situation becomes significantly more delicate the moment Aston Martin fully enters the equation, because this is no longer a theoretical risk or background paddock noise. Reports that the Silverstone-based team has opened direct talks with Gianpiero Lambiase about a senior management role have sent genuine shockwaves through Red Bull's leadership. This is not simply about an engineer being tempted elsewhere. It is about the potential removal of one of the most important pillars supporting Max Verstappen's competitive and psychological environment. Aston Martin's interest in Lambiase is not accidental, nor is it opportunistic. It is strategic, calculated, and deeply aligned with their long-term vision for 2026 and beyond. With Adrian Newey already committed to taking on a leadership role under the new regulations, the prospect of reuniting him with Lambiase carries enormous symbolic and practical value. Their previous collaboration at Red Bull was built on trust, efficiency, and shared understanding, and Aston Martin see Lambiase not merely as an engineer, but as a figure capable of shaping the team's culture at the highest level. From Red Bull's perspective, the timing could scarcely be worse. Over the last 18 months, the team has endured a level of internal upheaval that would have destabilized almost any organization. The departures of Adrian Newey, Jonathan Wheatley, Christian Horner and Helmut Marko have already stripped away much of the continuity that once defined Red Bull's dominance. Losing Lambiase now would not just deepen that wound, it would expose how fragile the structure has become heading into a regulation reset. What truly unsettles Red Bull, however, is not the organizational reshuffle itself, but the potential mental and emotional impact on Max Verstappen. Verstappen operates best within an environment of absolute trust and familiarity, especially when under pressure. Lambiase has long served as his stabilizing force, knowing exactly when to calm him, when to challenge him, and when to let him push. That relationship is not easily replicated, and Red Bull know it. This concern becomes exponentially more serious when viewed through the lens of the 2026 regulations. Formula One is entering its most complex technical era yet, with a complete overhaul of power units, aerodynamics, and race management philosophy. New engines will feature a 50-50 split between electrical energy and internal combustion, making energy deployment and recovery a defining factor in race outcomes. In this environment, driver-engineer communication will be absolutely critical. Drivers will rely on constant, precise guidance on when to save energy, when to deploy it, and how to balance performance against efficiency across an entire race distance. Any hesitation, miscommunication, or lack of trust on the radio could cost tenths of a second per lap, which over a race weekend can be decisive. Red Bull fear that without Lambiase, Verstappen could be placed at a disadvantage at the exact moment the competitive landscape resets for everyone. Simon Rennie's temporary role as Verstappen's race engineer in 2025 only reinforced how delicate this balance is. While Rennie is highly experienced and respected within Red Bull, he represents a different dynamic entirely. Even the most capable engineer cannot instantly replicate nearly a decade of shared understanding. Red Bull are painfully aware that changing that relationship during a regulation overhaul is a risk they would strongly prefer to avoid. Meanwhile, Aston Martin's long-term intentions are becoming increasingly transparent. With both Fernando Alonso and Lance Stroll out of contract at the end of 2026, the team is positioning itself for a potentially transformative move. Lawrence Stroll has never hidden his admiration for Verstappen. The idea of assembling a familiar inner circle around him is widely seen as a deliberate strategy rather than coincidence. Fans have been quick to connect the dots, and their reaction has been telling. Many believe Lambiase could be the final piece that makes Aston Martin a genuinely compelling destination for Verstappen. With Newey already committed, a state-of-the-art factory and heavy investment in infrastructure, the pieces appear to be aligning in a way that Red Bull simply cannot ignore. Speculation is further amplified by Verstappen's contract situation. While he is nominally tied to Red Bull until 2028, his deal contains performance-related exit clauses. Should Verstappen fall outside the top two in the championship at a specified point in 2026, the door to an early exit could quietly open. Red Bull understand that losing trusted personnel increases the risk of performance dips that could activate those clauses. What makes this scenario particularly dangerous is the momentum effect. Once a narrative of decline begins, it can rapidly become self-fulfilling. Staff departures lead to uncertainty. Uncertainty impacts performance, and performance erosion feeds directly into a driver's confidence in the project. Red Bull have witnessed this cycle destroy once dominant teams before, and they are acutely aware of how quickly it can accelerate. Aston Martin, by contrast, are presenting themselves as a project on the rise. The willingness to offer Lambiase a management-level role signals ambition, stability, and long-term thinking. Whether as CEO or team principal, his influence would extend far beyond engineering, shaping the strategic and cultural direction of the team as the new era begins. For Verstappen, all of this unfolds quietly in the background while he continues to race. Publicly, he remains calm and professional, but Red Bull know better than anyone that his loyalty is rooted in belief rather than sentiment. If his confidence in the project, the people, or the direction begins to waver, the consequences could be seismic. Growing tension, therefore, is not driven by rumours or social media speculation alone. It is rooted in genuine structural concerns at a pivotal moment for the sport. Red Bull are no longer the immovable force they once were, and their rivals are actively probing for weaknesses.